Start before the memory, at the human eye. Remembering something feels absolute, but seeing is a constructive act. The 2014 National Academies review puts it plainly. Visual perception does not passively reflect the sensory world, the way camera film detects patterns of light. The signal arriving at the eye is often noisy, incomplete, and ambiguous. To make sense of it, our brains call on our expectations of what is likely to be out there to fill in the blanks, reconcile ambiguities, and leave us with a coherent percept. The report makes a careful distinction here. This perceptual completion is a probabilistic hypothesis. Its accuracy depends on how closely the observer's expectations match that noisy sensory data. Ordinarily, the hypothesis is correct, which is why seeing feels like pure observation rather than inference. But when perception differs from ground truth, the viewer is commonly none the wiser. Whatever perception settles on is exactly what memory receives. The same biological reality applies to what the brain keeps. The contents of memory cannot be treated as a veridical permanent record, like photographs stored in a safe. The fidelity of our memories for real events may be compromised by many factors at all stages of processing. Without awareness, we regularly encode events in a biased manner and subsequently forget, reconstruct, update, and distort the things we believe to be true. This describes ordinary, functioning memory. A witness who says they saw someone is almost always describing something that genuinely happened to them. But remembering an event and measuring how good that memory is are entirely different acts. Nothing in the internal experience of remembering tells the person which one they are performing. A witness does not walk into an identification procedure carrying a number. They carry an impression. The procedure itself is where that impression is converted into a signal a system can use. The modern synthesis by Wickstead and Wells holds that confidence expressed at an initial, uncontaminated identification under pristine testing conditions carries diagnostic information about accuracy. But that claim carries a vital qualifier. Confidence expressed later, after feedback and repeated exposure, has lost that diagnostic value. The system must recognize these as distinct realities. The informativeness of confidence is fragile, and it degrades in a very specific, predictable direction. An identification made with hedges, with qualifications and an expressed sense of difficulty, can easily be followed by confirming feedback. Witnesses who are told after the fact that they picked the expected person report being more certain than witnesses told nothing. They retroactively report having had a better view, paying closer attention, and finding the identification easier than it actually was. This feedback arrives after the memory is already fixed. It cannot improve the memory itself. It only improves the account of the memory. Then comes repetition. The same statement is given again. Each re-encounter is another exposure to the selected face, not the face that was seen. Over time, the qualifications stop being said, and the internal hedges fall away. The result is a witness whose certainty has artificially risen, while the underlying information has not. No one is performing or lying. The witness is genuinely reporting what their conviction now feels like from the inside. Nothing in this sequence requires a broken institution or a bad actor. It requires only entirely ordinary conditions, stacked at the moment the memory is made. Take the role of stress. Eyewitness researchers lean toward high stress impairing memory, while fundamental memory researchers find inconsistencies, concluding that stress disrupts some episodic processes while enhancing others. The two fields answer the encoding question in opposite directions, converging only on the extreme case. Very high stress impairs accuracy, or the presence of a weapon. While laboratory studies show a decrement, the National Research Council describes the identification effect as inconsistent and the effect in actual crimes as slight, noting that eye-tracking work finds guns do not universally capture a witness's gaze or draw time away from a perpetrator's face. Even cross-racial identification carries nuance. While the initial encoding disadvantage is a well-established finding on average, the literature on what happens to confidence remains limited and mixed. Under pristine conditions, initial confidence still predicts accuracy for other race and own race faces alike. But whatever these variables did or did not do at the moment of encoding, they do not travel forward. The memory arrives carrying no visible record of the conditions that made it. Difficulty at encoding leaves no mark on the memory it produces. There is no internal signal alerting the witness that the memory was assembled under bad conditions, meaning they cannot report it because they simply do not have access to it. Accuracy cannot be observed by anyone in the room. Certainty can. And of the two, only certainty is capable of rising in the days and weeks after the event. The system ends up watching the wrong signal. People trying to get it right evaluate the unqualified certainty a witness has arrived at by the end of the sequence, as though it were the certainty they possessed at the beginning of it. And that later unquestioning certainty is what gets carried into the one room built to evaluate it, because nobody had written down how sure the witness was the first time.